Hi, my name is Sheila Corona, and this is the Jeshua Channelings by Pamela Kribbe. And if you are following along with me in the book, we are on page 103, Time, Dimensionality, and Your Light Self. In the previous chapters of the Lightworker series, we have told a more or less chronological tale about the history and inner development of lightworker souls. This story may give you the impression that you develop in time from point A to point B, from dark to light, from ignorance to wisdom. And in certain ways, this is the case. Yet, in this closing chapter, we wish to draw your attention to a different perspective, a different way of looking at yourselves, a perspective that lifts you outside of time, outside of this particular history, and acquaints you with your timeless existence. In other words, your multidimensionality. There is a part of you that is completely independent of space and time. This part is free at any moment to enter any dimension or area of experiences it wishes. It is free to choose dark or light at any time. From your earthly perspective, you travel from point A to point B in a linear fashion. For example, you travel through the 4 stages of inner development that we discussed step by step. From a timeless, multidimensional perspective, however, the real you is not developing over time. It is the one who is experiencing the development. The real you does not need to develop. It allows this experience in by its own free choice. This choice is motivated by a deep knowing of the great value of experiencing duality. From the perspective of your timeless spiritual self, you are at any time free to experience any point on the line from A to B and Z and beyond. You can activate any reality of consciousness for yourself at any time for the idea that you are stuck within a certain stage of inner development is ultimately just an illusion. The reason we want to draw your attention to this perspective is that it may help you break through your inner barriers. And I see this as my inner, all of the programming and conditioning about what even any one of us think we might be, right? That's what I see this as the ability to do, is to break free from all of that as well, those inner barriers. It may help you pierce the veil of illusion and get in touch with your own light self, the energy of the angel that you truly are. To grasp this as a real perspective from which to view yourself, we need to expound a little on the notion of time. At the highest level of oneness, there is no time. This is the level of spirit, God, pure beingness. At this level, there is no development, no, quote, becoming, but only, quote, being. And now I'm noticing for the first time that this book uses the word becoming. just like a different channeler used in the handbook for the new paradigm. Now, that's kind of interesting in and of itself. At the low, that's what it means to be a puzzle piece collector, by the way. It's because that lit up for me hugely. At the lowest level of oneness, at which separation is experienced at its strongest, a hollow, linear notion of time is employed. By hollow, I mean a scientific abstract notion of time that is completely devoid of subjectivity and felt content. Time in this notion is an objective structure outside of you. Time is something laid over your experiences as an external framework. I've also seen it as a method of focus um, for or how we've been trained to focus and believe things happen in this realm. If that made any sense. A quote curriculum vitae, for example, which you send in when you are applying for jobs, often consists of such an objective timeline of facts. In this year, I did that. In that year, I graduated from that school, etc. You emphasize the visible, external side of things. The inner side of things, the motivation, the meaning, the subjectivity, is left out. On the energetic levels in between oneness and separation, time is a reality that, quote, fluctuates with your experience. Time is an experiential notion, a way of carving up experience. At these levels, there is time, but it is not something independent of or external to your experiences. For example, on the astral planes where you travel during sleep and also after you die, there is, quote, there is no, quote, clock time. Clock time is the utmost attempt to disentangle time from subjectivity, i.e., from you and your experiences. It is a grand illusion. On the astral planes, time is the rhythm of your experiences. Sometimes you rest. Now you meet someone. Then you study for yourself, etc. The point at which one stage ends and another one begins is not determined by clock time, something external, but by your inner flow of feelings. Wow, by what seems natural to you. This is why I guess maybe I'm feeling like we can't actually make mistakes. We might think we are, we can hold it that we're making mistakes, but we don't really know for a fact that because we went over here because we were John, that was actually truly a mistake. We just judge it as that in the heat of the moment, so to speak. This natural sense of time or rhythm can be part of Earth life too. The subjectivity of time, for example, the fact that time can be experienced differently in various circumstances is familiar to all of you. You say that, quote, time flies when you are having fun, whereas time seems to come to a standstill when you are in the waiting room at the dentist or in line at the supermarket. Now, the skeptic inside you may say, Time is perceived as moving slowly when circumstances are experienced as negative, whereas time is seemingly going faster when circumstances are positive. But time itself is always the same, ticking by in the same rigid manner, however we experience things. This is the quote, objective framework notion of time, also called the linear notion of time. It stems from a rationalistic, scientific approach to time. But imagine that there were no clocks, no night and day, no natural influences such as sun, moon, and tides by which to measure time. Then you could only rely on your own subjective sense of time. Your objective measure of time, the clock, is not really based on something external. It is the product of the human mind that wishes to divide up and classify. The human mind has abstracted a certain order of things from the natural phenomenon on earth. But time in itself, independent of the human factor, does not exist. It is an illusion that is the product of a type of consciousness that is caught in the belief in separation. That is what I call a programmed condition that we've all done to each other. Um, and I hadn't thought of it as a belief in separation, but I absolutely it is, right? Time is essentially subjective. Time is a way of carving up experience in such a way that you can make sense of it. For example, you say of someone, he is an old soul. Do you really mean the number of years or lifetimes when you refer to his old age? Or do you mean by old that he expresses certain qualities such as wisdom, balance, and serenity rather than a certain quantity of time? The reference to time in the phrase old soul is really a reference to experience. Time, in the full sense of the word, is the dynamics of becoming on the inner level. It may be a helpful concept insofar as it helps you articulate the natural rhythm or flow of things. But when conceived as something objective, standing over and above you, it tends to limit and distract you. You are not limited to a particular timeline. You are not a linear being. There are levels of your being that are outside of the framework of time that you are presently experiencing. It is to this aspect of yourself or your multidimensionality which we wish to draw your attention to now. And I'll tell you, I've had several experiences with this. I know that that's one of the reasons this was such a validating book for me. Multidimensionality. According to the linear notion of time, you cannot be present in more than one place at the same time. By quote, you, the linear concept refers to your body, your brain, and your consciousness that is somehow tied to your body brain. Science cannot yet explain how exactly body and consciousness are tied, but it does maintain generally that consciousness cannot exist without a physical body. According to the full subjective sub concept of time, You are present wherever your consciousness dwells. Where you are in time and space is determined by the focus of your consciousness, not by the location of your body. This is how remote viewing works, I feel. For example, you are at the station waiting for your train to arrive. It will take some time yet, so you just sit and stare for a while, and unnoticed, you get into a slightly altered state of consciousness. You are now thinking of someone you were talking to yesterday. You recall that conversation easily and you vividly remember how it affected you. You are reliving certain aspects of that conversation, drawing it into your now moment from the past. What you are actually doing here is that you travel to the past and you visit the energies of that moment again. Your now energy interacts with the energy of the past, possibly creating changes in your experience of that moment and thus altering the past. By altering the past, we do not mean that you alter any physical facts, but that you overlay them with a different interpretation or perspective. By altering the felt content of a certain event, however, you are in a sense altering the event for you. Just think of this example. You had a conversation with someone who got really offended by a remark of yours, which had no critical intention at all. The other person you were talking with started to scold you and then walked away. Now, you in turn felt offended, feeling misunderstood, angry, and shocked at the same time. After you got home, you felt troubled for some hours, but then you let it go and had a good night's sleep. The next morning at the train station, you had to wait for your train, and you suddenly recalled this peculiar conversation where things went wrong so surprisingly. You now look at it from a different perspective, and suddenly you realize why the man felt so offended by your remark. You remember some facts about his past that you simply had forgotten before you had that conversation. You can now see his emotional reaction in a whole different light, especially as having nothing to do with you. It wasn't you who was causing the hurt. You just triggered an old hurt inside of him. This perspective sets in motion a different emotional response inside you. You feel a sense of relief, insight, just forgiveness. Oh, I see. Now I understand, poor fellow. At that moment, you are recreating the past. You are overlaying it with a different interpretation of the facts, which replaces your initial response. To be clear, this does not mean that the initial response did not take place, that the energies of anger, shock, and misunderstanding have been transformed into understanding and forgiveness. A spiritual alchemy has taken place by the interaction between past and present. Really, the physical facts aren't that important. It is the felt content of a situation, your energetic reaction to it, that really shapes your life and your reality. Therefore, we may rightly say that you can alter the past by traveling through time to past energies which still need resolution, which is why I have talked to my innate and said, if I have to visit that, let's do that. Let's do that. Tell me. Let's make sure I do that. If it's something that I don't have to remember because there's a lot of my childhood I don't remember, then I'm willing to just let it go. But if it's something that I need to process all the way through, I want to do that. While you are sitting at the station conducting your time travel, there is some layer of your consciousness still present in with your body. You may sense in the back of your mind that your hands are getting cold or that some youngsters behind you are talking loudly. Consciousness is able to divide itself up. It can be in different places at the same time, meaning that consciousness can dwell in different energetic realities at the same time. This is the meaning of multidimensionality. Your consciousness is not limited to space and time. Although you have a basic agreement during a lifetime on Earth that some part of your consciousness is always connected with your Earth body, your consciousness is not thereby limited to one specific point in time. You are not limited by the past or the future, for they are not fixed. They are liquid fields of experience. They are changeable, and you can interact with them from the now. Your consciousness is multidimensional, even when you think that you are imprisoned within your physical body. I always laugh at that because, I really didn't get that, but I do now. Do you know the expression, she is stuck in the past? Someone cannot let go of the past, and her consciousness is filled with past experiences and with emotions such as regret, remorse, or just grief. This person is, quote, not here. She is literally in the past. She is, as in the example above, interacting with the past from the now moment, but not in a liberating alchemical way. Her body is present in the here and now, and she is stuck in the past. Time for her time for her stands still while the clock is ticking and measuring the passage of weeks and months. This is because she does not move experientially. She doesn't flow with the natural processes of life and experience. This is an example of multidimensionality. Even when you limit yourself to such a narrow focus of consciousness, you are being multidimensional. By this, I mean to say that multidimensional is not something you become, it is something that you are. This is what I mean when I say about how it is not that the veils are thinning or thinner, it is that our veils within us are thinning or are thinner or are dropping away. That's what I keep being shown for me. It is your nature. It is your natural state of being. The real question is, how can you be multidimensional in a liberating and transforming way? How can you employ your multidimensionality in such a way that you can move freely through the dimensions and not lose touch with your divine spirit, being multidimensional from a place of wisdom and awareness? This is your spiritual destiny. It is your destiny to become fully conscious, multidimensional creators. I'm reminded of I have said before that we are creators in training. That's why the Earth is many people have called it a prison planet, because we create. We have to be corralled until we figure out who we are. And, are you a good witch or a bad witch? How are you going to create? What will you create? You know what I mean? It's all guesses, it's all suppositions, it's all possible, plausible potentialities, right? Being concisely multidimensional means that you release the illusion of linear time, which also means to release the notion that you are no more than your body. Being consciously multidimensional is to identify yourself with the spirit or God inside you that is absolutely free to enter any realm of experience or dimension it chooses. Being consciously multidimensional is an essential part of the reality of the new earth. The reason you struggle with the concept of multidimensionality is that you conceive of being, quote, in two places at the same time, in a physical way. Your physical body cannot be in two places at the same time. However, dimensions are not physical places, not, quote, chunks of matter, so to speak. Dimensions are realms of consciousness, spheres of consciousness that abide by certain energetic laws. Your consciousness can partake of different dimensions at the same time. This happens now. There are realities of the past, the future, the astral planes, past lives, of the angel inside you, and even more that are intersecting and meeting inside you right now, right here, right now. You are multidimensional now. But are you multidimensional in a conscious manner? Do you allow the dimensions to flow in and out of you? Do you accept what energies they bring you, and can you recognize them as yours? Sometimes I can, sometimes I cannot. It's a matter of practicing. I think the art of relaxing oneself into oneself is also another thing. You interact with the other dimensions you are part of all the time. But if you do so in a conscious and accepting way, you are actually transforming those dimensional realities by embracing stuck or pent up energies from those dimensions and holding them up to the light of your consciousness. You liberate and integrate parts of yourself, and you change your present. That would explain some of the changes in my physical vessel. Uh, for sure, for sure. When I have felt like I'm in a new body, because that has happened. Many realms of consciousness meet inside you and are essentially the master, and you are essentially the master who chooses to experience any of them. You are free to travel through any of them, fast or slowly, near or far, as long as you identify with the spirit inside you. You will keep the awareness that you are free. But when you get stuck in thoughts of limitation, holding beliefs such as this is not possible, that is not allowed, this will go wrong, etc., you sink into the illusion of separation. You are caught in the illusion of linear time, the illusion that you are a body, the illusion that you are separate from God. In this way, the soul gets temporarily, quote, bound to certain realms of experience. The soul forgets about its true origins, its divinity, and its freedom. This being caught or, quote, bound is also called karma. Getting, quote, unbound or unstuck often proceeds along a number of steps or stages of what you call inner growth. From the human linear standpoint, you are releasing karma and slowly transforming yourself according to the 4 stages of inner development that we have described in this Lightworker series. From the standpoint of spirit, however, you are simply bouncing back into your natural state of divine awareness. From that point of view, releasing karma is nothing else than remembering your own divinity, your light self. Many dimensions, many realms of consciousness come together inside you, and you are really the master, the creator of the whole field of dimensions. You are a star with many rays, a soul consciousness with many manifestations. You are free to activate whatever reality you choose. Well, now that's interesting. Mm, and makes sense. If you drop the notion of linear time or chronology, you allow yourself to believe that the past or the future do not determine you, which I actually have. You can then feel yourself to be at the center of a vibrating field of dimensions, all emanating from one divine, timeless source, you. Imagine yourself at the center of all these realities, all these possibilities, and then choose the one that carries the most light for you. You choose the brightest, most lovely ray in the field. And now, for the moment, go inside of it and feel what it is like to be that ray. This is your light self. This is the part of you that is most like God. Traditionally, the beings closest to God are called archangels. And that is what you are in this dimension right now. You are truly archangels. Archangels are beings that are very close to spirit or God, but they are not completely one with it. They are one step removed from absolute consciousness, meaning pure being without differentiation, becoming, or individuality. Archangels have a kind of individuality. There is uniqueness to all of them. An archangel may be said to have had certain characteristics. One cannot say this of God or spirit. God is all and nothing. Because of this, archangels have entered, quote, the realm of separation. Wow. The whole lot tried to come in just then, but then it just like disappeared. So I'm going to back that up. Archangels have a kind of individuality. There is uniqueness to all of them. An archangel may be said to have certain characteristics. One cannot say this of God or spirit. God is all and nothing. Because of this, archangels have entered, quote, the realm of separation, the realm of I versus other. They are part of duality, however, slightly. An archangel is an aspect of God that has manifested itself as a particular being, a particular form. Let me get a sip of this. A Greek philosopher, Plato, called this an idea, which in our terms is a basic or archetypal energetic reality that transcends the physical world. Archangels are, in that sense, Platonic ideas. There is an archangel or idea of love, of truth, of goodness, etc., each embodying the energy of a particular aspect of God. Archangels are not so much persons as energy fields with an individual flavor. Why did Spirit or God externalize aspects of himself in this way? It was from the joy of creativity that he did this. The archangel energies are an expression of God's unending creative joy. Archangels are not outside of God. Nothing is outside of God. God is in everything. God is present in all created energies as the spirit aspect. This aspect is what makes all these energies one. That which separates a being from another one, what makes it different and unique is the soul aspect. See, I would have classified that as the ego aspect. So that's kind of interesting, the personality. The soul aspect covers the individuality of a being. All created beings that have individuality are truly a coming together of spirit and soul, of consciousness, spirit, and experience, soul. Okay. Creation is a dance of spirit and soul. Now, that I do feel strongly. The archangels are, so to speak, the firstborn children of God, not, quote, first in a linear sense, but in the sense of being very close to God. They carry a deep awareness inside of their divinity, the, quote, spirit aspect. Humans perceive archangels as a bright and pure light. There are different archangels. Every archangel emanates energy like rays of light from a sun. By emitting these rays farther and farther away, the angel gets in touch with unknown spaces, with realms of experience that are new to it. The archangelic energy reaches out, and in this spontaneous creative moment, it stumbles across that which is other than it, that which is not light, but dark. Dark here just means further removed from oneness / spirit, further drawn into the realm of individuality. Yeah, I keep being shown that reverse kaleidoscope. A prism of sorts. Prism, not prison. God or spirit is neither dark nor light. God simply is. Archangels are beings of light. By creating light, God also created dark. This is simply because archangels are in the dimension of duality outside of oneness. They have a sense of individuality. The creation of the light self, the angel, brought with it the creation of the dark self, the part of the self where light is absent. There is beauty in this polarity since it constitutes the dynamics of creation. God, pure being and consciousness, longed for experience, and this experience she gains through the created universe, through her presence in the light and the dark aspects of it. Pardon me. What the archangels were going to experience after they entered the realm of duality, God did not know. This is what she craved, not to know everything, but to experience something new. In stepping outside of oneness, the archangels entered an empty space, a space of potentiality, a space of unending possibilities. The archangels found out that they could create many forms and live in them. Every form you inhabit as a conscious being has a certain angle or perspective to it, which enables unformed consciousness to experience things in specific ways. The whole process of the archangels venturing out for experiences can be portrayed as a huge waterfall of sparkling light. The energy of the archangels poured out of God's source like a massive flow of sparkling bright water glowing in every direction. Within this stream of water, little streams separated themselves, dividing up into even smaller streams until they were tiny drops of liquid light. These drops may be compared to individual units of consciousness, each with their own set of experiences. The dance of spirit and soul had now truly begun. The individual units of consciousness, which we call souls, went on with their journey. They carried deep within themselves the energy of spirit or source, as well as the energy of the archangel they stemmed from. But as they traveled farther and farther, they came to experience that it was possible to forget about their origins, to forget about their divinity, and to become lost in darkness and illusion. This polarity of dark and light could best be experienced as a human being living on earth. When we describe the process of archangels emanating from source and eventually becoming human, it seems that we are telling a linear, chronicle tale. But this is not so. The emanation or waterfall of energy from God is happening right now. This tale tells you about the identities that are available to you now, not about who you were in some distant past. At this very moment, there is a layer of pure archangel energy inside you, a layer of pure light. This is what I refer to as aspects. I have experienced my aspect of the Archangel Gabriel. I carry that aspect heavily in my field. I can feel it, others can feel it. I had an autistic child tell me that I was I was Gabriel. Now, not let's see. Yeah, there are also layers of confusion and fear inside you, but you can choose at any moment to be the light self, the angel that you are. This is not something you need to develop. It is simply a part of who you are. It is important to realize that you do not need to look up to spiritual masters, guides, or angels. There is not one authority above you. You yourself are among the quote, firstborn. Sitting next to God's throne, you yourself are God and angel. The easiest way to get in touch with your light self is through connecting with the layer of pure consciousness, pure spirit inside you. This you do by becoming silent on inner and outer levels. The silence you experience then is really ever present in you. You only need to become aware of it. When you are connected to silence, the dimension of eternity inside you, you can feel Spirit's desire to experience. From this desire, your light self was born. The soul experiences the greatest joy in the interplay between spirit and experience, the interplay between divinity and humanness. This is the secret of the universe. When you are purely spirit, your reality is static, nothing changes. Experience and movement only arise when there is a relationship with something outside of you/spirit. When you sense something other than yourself, there is an invitation to explore, to feel, to find out. But to experience something other than you, you need to remove yourself out of absolute oneness, out of God's Spirit. When you do so, you become an individual soul. You are a unique soul, 1 foot in the realm of the absolute, 1 foot in the realm of the relative or duality. In your explorations of relativity or duality, you may go so far away from home that you lose contact with the element of spirit inside you. Your soul then gets lost in the illusion of fear and separation. The greatest joy possible is when you take part of the realm of experience while staying connected with spirit, with home. The balanced interplay between spirit and soul is the source of the greatest creativity and love. I know I've had more fun since my life has just shifted in ways that I can't even relay. Um, from this perspective, you are all on your way to finding the right balance between absolute oneness and being an individual soul. The ones among you who are light workers are at present working towards a greater awareness of their oneness with spirit. They have traveled into duality long and far, and they, or you, my dear reader, are ready to come back home. Not, however, to a static home of pure oneness, but to a dynamic, creative reality of divine, multidimensional humans whose experiences will be filled with joy and light. In all of you who read this, there is an intense longing for home and a profound determination to truly know who you are. Keep your longing and determination alive and trust them, for they will bring you home. Wow. Well, that's it for this time. We'll come back with part two, the public channelings from 2003, 2006, beginning with the power of your own consciousness next time. Thank you for joining me. I hope this has been something that you are enjoying. If so, please be sure to subscribe to this channel. Make sure that you hit the notification bell if you'd like to be notified when I go live or upload more videos. Until we meet again, I hope that you will move towards that which brings you the highest joy in each moment that presents itself to you. It's just a matter of your own perspective and perhaps allowing another perspective to reveal itself to you, perhaps. Until we meet again, my friends, be well.